So, Jan, what age did you start playing badminton, and why did you get into badminton?
I started playing when I was 4 years old, and it came very natural to me that because my whole family played, and it was just a natural place to be in the hall and around all the guys in the hall, and badminton came naturally to me, and I never stopped. So I think it's kind of a fun game.
Now, I've seen you play and train, and I know you're also an awesome runner. Were you involved in other sports when you were young?
Like every other child, I played football, and I also had a short stint in swimming or something like that. 1 or 2 days playing handball as well. But football. I guess I played football for soccer in Canada. For like 5 years or something like that.
But you are known to be a crazy good runner. Did you train that, or was that just something that came naturally?
No, not really. It just came naturally, and when I got a little bit bigger, I just really liked it, and it was a natural thing to me to do, and of course an important part of my practice as well, because playing singles is obviously very hard, and you have to pressure yourself all the time, and that was a good way to do it, and I just liked it.
Cool. So are you saying then you feel that singles compared to doubles requires more fitness or more endurance?
Yeah, of course.
Of course, I'm going to agree with you on that, because I'm a singles player too. But so, can you remember a moment growing up when you realized, this is what I want to do? I want to be a professional badminton player.
I can remember I reached the final in under 13 national championships, and after that experience, I thought that okay, well, I can do something with this game, and I think I can. I might have a chance to get it somewhere. I didn't know that I could take it this far, but I know that I had some talent for it, and yeah.
And did you have some big inspirations growing up? Some people you looked up to, maybe your coach, or you said your family played. I guess your.
I had my sister. I have my sister, and she played. She was a big inspiration for me, because she was also trying very hard to get a career, and it's like she done all the things before me, and I knew what to do and what not to do, and that was a big help.
Yeah, Lona's a great girl. She's still playing, isn't she?
Yeah, a little bit. I think actually she's going to retire next year. Yeah. So
if you had to pick one absolute highlight of your career so far, what would that be? And can you explain what that experience was like?
I think that's it's going to be winning Denmark Open, winning my first Super Series, and at this time the only one. Just doing such a big thing is really huge for me, and a huge dream come true. It's not like I beat like here in January when I beat Lin Dan. It's kind of different, because this is a whole tournament where I played at a very high level, and showing that to myself and the whole world, that was really great, and I'm very happy about that one.
And in front of your home crowd, no less. That must have been special.
Yeah, exactly. And in front of my family and friends, and a huge thing for me. And I'm still getting goosebumps thinking about that last rally. I even ran around the whole court, and can't remember much of it.
Yeah, I have that a lot, where I want to remember what was happening, but it's when you're really in that zone state, it's almost meditative. You can't really remember what happened, or like time almost stands still. Did that happen for you as well?
Yeah, when you do things like that, and you accomplish such a huge thing, you don't really think about what you're doing. You just do things, and to me that was running around and going wild, and it was a great moment.
Tell us what training day in the life of Jan Jørgensen looks like? What does a training day look like, and what is your overall approach to training for badminton?
I get up at around 7 and get some breakfast, and then I drive to Brøndby, where we have our training, and we normally have a practice at 8 o'clock till 10, and then I have some stretching and things like that, and then I have a lunch at 11, 12 o'clock, and then I go home and relax a bit, and then I go to then I either have one more practice at the hall, or then I have some weights or running or something like that.
And then sometimes there's club training. I know from having lived in Denmark. Do you still participate in the social part of club training in the evenings, or? Yeah.
One time at the week, I go to my club, Skovshoved, and giving something back is also a good thing. I'm sparring a lot with the other guys, and we're having some food after training, and it's a great place, and I'm really happy about getting a club here in Copenhagen, because last year I played for Aarhus and I didn't get the social thing about it, and that's a good thing this year.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's what I loved so much about badminton was it's such a social sport still. Even if you're a singles player, it's still, you need other people around to help you train and help you become your best. So it's cool that you realize that it's, and I think the Danes do that maybe better than anyone in the world, being such a small country and still able to compete with the big names like China and Malaysia, Indonesia. Who were your inspirations growing up as players?
As players, my big idols were Peter and Taufik. I remember seeing them playing in the All England final. I think it was in 99. Taufik was 17 and Peter was 21 or something like that. And I just thought, whoa, these two guys playing at a really high level, and they were my childhood heroes.
And is it exciting, or do you feel pressured now, thinking there's so many kids around the world now who see you as their hero and their role model?
It's really a fantastic thing, because I remember growing up and having to look up to these athletes, and me being one of them would be a huge thing for me, and I'm really happy if that can come true.
I know it already has. You've got tons of fans around the world, and that's only going to continue to grow. We're going to talk now about some badminton-specific questions. If you were to coach someone one-on-one, the average level recreational player, someone who's trying to improve their game, what's one thing you would tell them to work on right now to improve their game the most?
It depends on what kind of player you are and everything, but to me, important things in the game is always footwork. You can't really use all your good technique and your good shots if you don't have the right footwork. You need to move around well and be fast on court, and to me that's the most important thing, and that's a thing you can always improve. So if I had to say one thing, which I mean is the most important thing, I'll say footwork.
And what kind of footwork training do you do to, I mean, your footwork has come a long way, I would say, even since I saw you play the first time. You've got amazing foot speed. Did that always come naturally, and was it just a matter of learning the correct steps, or did you have to, I know Peter Rasmussen used to do footwork every single day when he was younger. Have you had to work a lot on that?
When I had Kenneth Jørgensen, I worked a lot on my footwork, and a bit before that I started working, with small steps, small speedy exercises, like, you know, when you're in the middle of the court, you move your feet around in small steps, and these steps are very important to get power to the corners, and that's very important. And so I started doing that at a pretty young age, and then I took it to the next level. We have this Chinese coach, Lin, who's helping us out, and it's actually a lot about jumping to the corners, and to me that has always been a problem because I wasn't strong enough to jump, you know, all the way through to the corners. So it's actually first here the last couple of years that I have that I got enough power to do so.
Yeah, I had the privilege of working with Lin when I was in Denmark, and his ability to get you to harness all the power you have into your steps is so valuable. And I think a lot of people have more strength than they realize. They're not tapping into that, especially from the middle of the court out towards the corners. Yeah,
that's right. It's really important that you get a lot of power in your steps. Like I said before, in the center of the court, then so you have the power to push forward to the corners and backwards. That's very important.
So besides footwork, what would be another thing that you would recommend as another key area for players at home listening to this, thinking, okay, I'm going to work on my footwork? What else does Jan recommend?
For myself, right now I'm working getting more sharper shots. One thing is just being able to follow the best players' speed and tempo in the rallies. So for me I'm trying to be able to, you know, make some surprising things in this tempo. So you have to. It's a tough question because you have to work on so many things. Badminton, it's such a tough game because you have to be able to. You need to be strong. You need to have a great endurance. You need to have a high level of technique, and you need to have a good tactical eye as well. So there's so many things, but of course the technical part of it, improving your sharpness of your shots is also very, very important, and that's my thing I'm working on right now. That's actually what I think worked out really well against Lin Dan. That's the thing that I took some chances and tried to do something surprising.
Yeah, because often when you play someone who's at your pace or even able to play faster, you end up playing very predictably because you're more just trying to follow instead of trying to be innovative and creative. It's hard to find the room to be creative when you're under pressure often. So that's great advice to try and keep the creativity and the variation, even if the pace is pushing you to your limit.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what the best players can do. They just find a high tempo and in the rallies, and then they just do their thing. You know, they just wait for the chance, and when they are in the end of the rally, they can still do something surprising. So it's really important.
So what would you say is the best way for someone to deal with their opponent taking advantage of their weaknesses? For example, if a player knows they have a weak backhand, or maybe their footwork is weak and they're not great at covering the court, how can a player deal with that and try to not cover up, but try to limit their vulnerability of their weaknesses on the court?
That really depends on what kind of weakness or what kind of skill you are in lack of. For example, if there is a lot of drift in the hole, I'm always trying to use the net a lot. So it really depends on what kind of thing yourself as a player is not good at. So that's it's hard to answer.
So let's say the backhand. I mean, I know it's for a pro player, it's the subtleties or the weaknesses are so much less obvious. But for the average player who enjoys playing a few times a week and is nowhere near kind of your level, but say they struggle with the backhand side and they feel we often get feedback that people are picking on the backhand side, or
you can a good thing trying to cover this lack of skill is that you can move your footwork a bit. The center of your footwork, you can move it a bit to the left if you're a right-handed player, of course, and then you can cover up something. You can be more ready in that side. And another thing to do is that high in your arm as well. When you play a shuttle to the net, you should high your arm a bit so you're ready for shots down in the backhand.
So you can then take it around round the head forehand instead of turning.
Yeah.
So that's great advice to cover up or shelter your weakness a little bit to try to fill the hole, and then hopefully they'll be able or they'll hit to other areas. So what would your advice be to someone who wants to improve their consistency in their game? If they're only able to play a few times a week, but they find that they're just making too many unforced errors, is that something you've had to work on, and what would you recommend?
If you ask me that, and you haven't said that the guy was only able to play a few times a week, then I would say practice, and more practice, because that's the only way you can heighten your consistency by. But if you can only play a few times a week, you should do some exercises where you play at a bit higher level than you're used to, and then trying to keep the unforced errors down, so you get used to playing at a higher tempo.
So challenge those people at your club who are better than you, but then take advantage of that opportunity to practice just trying to keep your shots in the court.
Yeah, and not rush things too much. Or you can play 2 against 1. That's always a great exercise to do, because you are obviously under a lot of pressure, and you heighten your tempo in the rallies.
And I really like what you said there about not rushing, because I think players at all levels, when something isn't going well or their shots aren't working as they would like, they have a tendency to rush through it and speed the move up and hope that it will somehow change. But in fact, I find it's by slowing down and thinking about the movement in a more controlled way that your consistency will get back. If you speed up and panic, then usually it just gets worse. I definitely agree. So you've had some amazing comebacks in your career. How do you handle being down in a match? That's something that people struggle with a lot. They're behind, and especially now with the rally point system, it's a challenge when your opponent gets 2, 3, 4, even 5 points ahead. It's especially in the second half of a set, it can be a real struggle. But you seem to be able to manage that. What helps you come back from behind in a match?
I really don't know. I think I'm born with this kind of never say die attitude, and I just never give up. And that's such a deep and big part of me that I'll be fighting to the end, no matter what the scoreboard is saying. So I have showed to myself so many times that it ain't over till the last rally is played, and it's just about keep fighting.
Yeah, because I think it's easy to look at the score and even in the back of your mind think, oh well, it's too much. I can't make it. And so I think just focusing on each rally at a time, it seems sometimes even forgetting about the score and just trying to play,
exactly
really helps.
Exactly. That's actually one of the things I have worked with, not to focus too much on the scoreboard, and just focus on doing the right things and trying to do what you have agreed with your coach to do.
So we talked about people who are limited in their access to the court and maybe can only play 2 or 3 times a week. What would you recommend to a player who does want to improve but can't always get to the badminton court? What kind of off-court training could you recommend?
Running is always a good thing to do. It does so many good things for your body, and but yeah, of course, a lot of leg exercises, at the fitness room. Yeah, a lot for the stomach and the back to, the body core to get stronger. Using that all the time. So a lot of leg and a lot of stomach and back. That's important. So
when it comes to leg work, do you do a lot of strength training, and what does that look like?
I'm doing pretty standard weight training, weightlifting like squat and stuff like that. It's pretty straightforward and. I think it looks like many other weight programs.
And when it comes to the core, I know that's something I've focused on strengthening a lot, that the Danish coaches emphasized, which I think helped my game a lot. Sit-ups and lower abs and back, that's all encompassing on the core. Why do you think that core part of the body is so important in badminton, and what's the use of having a strong core?
When you get really tired and your pulse is running, it's about that's actually one of my problems. That's about keeping your upper body straight and strong, because you need to take as much power off your legs. So it's really important to be strong in your stomach and back, and also every time you do a smash, you're using a lot of your stomach and a lot of your back. It's not like many think. It's not only the arm, so it's the whole body, and you need to, every time you're doing a movement or something like that, you need to get you need to be stable at your stomach and back. So it's really important.
So as an elite athlete, what does your nutrition plan look like when you're at home and in a training period, and then also when you're away competing? Because I really found that a challenge. Badminton took me to over 50 countries, and every place you go has a different kind of food and a different way of preparing food. So how do you deal with that with all your competitions around the world? How do you find the healthy balance that you need?
I bring a lot of stuff with me to competitions around the world. I have some small snacks. Sorry, I'm using after each game, and some energy drinks and stuff like that, and that's I'm always trying to eat something just after practice, and then I'm trying to get a lot of all the right things at the big meals, and trying to eat a lot, and it's actually something I have improved during the last year. That's my nutrition plan. So it's going really well, and I can feel that my body is getting stronger.
Yeah, that's something I've really focused on with a lot of my students now, that, being a great badminton player, you have to be able to perform on the court, but your body is a machine, really, and you need to fuel the machine in the right ways. And it's a challenge, though, with so many different types of junk food, and even food claiming to be healthy that really isn't, and isn't really going to help you perform. What kind of basic foods, if you had to pick something that anyone around the world could access, what are your kind of favorite snacks and healthy go-to foods for before a tournament, or even, like you said, just after you come off the court?
Just before a game, I usually trying to find something like rice and chicken or something like that. It's all over the world, and it's it's kind of a standard food in so many countries. They just have different ways of preparing it and spices and so on. But you can always find that. So that's what I'm trying to find. After the game, I make sure to get some sugar and some and some energy drinks and stuff like that, and some energy bars as well, just to get the body to recover faster.
Right.
Another thing I'm using is actually that's something I started to use after I switched to Lin Dan. Actually, it's compression clothing, which I find very useful as well. So I'm every time I have played a tough game and I feel my legs are tired, I'm walking around at the hotel with this crazy looking clothes. Yeah, exactly.
But that's great for the circulation, and so much about playing at your level is not just being able to perform for one match, but being able to perform for 2, 3, 4, ideally 5 at a Super Series matches in a row. And you know, badminton is known to be a very tough sport, because in the pro tennis circuit, for example, they often have 1 or 2 days off in between the matches. At a Super Series, there's no days off. You're going back to back for 5 days straight. So the recovery process is so important, and that's where the nutrition and all those recovery things you talked about are so key.
Yeah, it's really important, and I opened my eyes to the importance of it during this year, because I have found it very useful to use. Well, not to use, but to focus more on these things.
Yeah, and you know, the expression, the devil's in the details, all these little things add up to give you the edge, and that's what champions realize, and I think you know, that's great motivation for the listeners out there. What has been the biggest off-court challenge for you in your life, and how is that related to your badminton?
That's definitely this summer been by far been the toughest year of my career. I lost my mom just like a month before. No, well, around 1.5 months before the Worlds in London. Very, very hard and of course very tough. And just when I got back in training, the second day of practice afterwards, my hamstring was pulled, and I wasn't able to compete in London. And that's by far the toughest thing to overcome. And it's exactly the first year in the end of this year that I started to be able to relax and do well again.
And how did that experience change you on the court as well? Because I mean, I'm of the belief that, and you know, it's cliche, but I really believe that everything that we learn through badminton affects our day-to-day life and vice versa. Do you feel that experience now has changed you as a player, has, you know, made you stronger?
It has definitely made me stronger, and I just really found out that I'm a sensitive guy, and I need to have control on all the circumstances and all my personal things around my badminton to be able to perform well, and I have that now, and I think that's why my results are starting to improve again.
Yeah, because it has been an amazing season so far for you. You've recently taken out 2 of the biggest names in badminton. You beat Peter Gade at the Copenhagen Masters tournament in December of 2011, and then you just took out what I believe to be the best player to ever hold a badminton racket, which Lin Dan in Malaysia. Tell me about those two wins and what it's done to your confidence.
It has, of course, done a lot, and winning Copenhagen Masters for the second time in a row was a really big thing, and it gave me a lot of confidence and a big boost. And I traveled to Korea knowing that I could beat some of the best players, and I just took it game by game and won against Rumbaka in straight sets, and then I played Chin and was like you said before, I was down, and it really didn't look it didn't look good. So, but I just kept fighting, and suddenly I had beaten him. And and then I played the quarterfinal against Lin Dan and just tried my best and learned from it and lost, but in 3 sets, and then we moved on to Malaysia, and it went really well, and I just fought with all I have in all the games and took it one by one, and suddenly I was in the quarterfinals again.
And I mean, you skim over that like it's, you know, no big deal to have taken out Chen Jin, but I mean, the listeners know Chen Jin is also one of the best players to play the game. He's the Olympic bronze medalist, and he's often overshadowed, I think, because he's just so happens to have been born in the same era as Lin Dan, which is unfortunate because I think in another time he would have dominated, but because Lin Dan is so exceptional. And so to take Chen Jin out and to almost beat Lin Dan in Korea, that must have given you a huge boost of belief in yourself that anything is possible.
Yeah, for sure. And it also showed that I am doing the right things. You know, I've done a lot of hard work in December, and and it just showed to me and my coaches that okay, you're doing the right things, and just keep working on the same things and keep working hard, and then the results will come.
Does this boost in performance? Do you feel confident that you're in the running for a medal in the London Olympics?
I don't think you can say that I'm in the group of what do you say, of medal candidates. But I think if I qualify, which is looking good now after these 2 tournaments, I'll be one of the players the big guns wouldn't like to play. So, but saying that I'm one of the favorites for a medal, you can't put me in that category.
I think you positioned yourself, and you know, in the ideal scenario, having had the opportunity to compete in Athens and Beijing in the Olympics, I know the pressure there is unlike any other sporting event and any other badminton tournament, and to be able to come in somewhat under the radar is really what I think. I'm going to be watching you for sure, because I think you are the worst nightmare for a lot of the favorites there, because you can come in with this, you know, you in a way you get to, it works both ways. I mean, you might feel, and I'll get to this in a second, that you're somewhat in Peter Gade's shadow, but in another way you get to kind of hide behind him and then pop out at the right time. So I think you're going to set yourself up very well, and I look forward to seeing that. But to get to Peter Gade, then, what role has he played? I mean, he's such an icon in our sport. He's revolutionized the game really with the changes he made and the innovations he came up with back in the late 90s, and it seems everyone's adapted and because of him. But what role has he played on your career as a role model and as a friend and possibly even as a coach, if his plans to retire and get into coaching after London actually happen?
He's still meaning a lot to me, because he's every day he's showing us how to practice. He's going in with this kind of crazy attitude towards practice, and he's just amazing. I think the bad practices he have had is like it's like 10 or something like that during my whole period in Brøndby. So he's just amazing, and he's so professional, and I'm trying to up in my level of that every day, and that's what I'm working on, and of course he has also meant a lot as a friend, because he's learning me by all his experience, and it's really good to have him, and he's an important person in my badminton for sure.
I got a chance to have him as a coach player when I first moved to Denmark, and I was amazed at his understanding of the game. How do you think he will be as a coach after he retires from his competitive career?
I think he'll be awesome. Like he's saying himself, he is even maybe better as a coach than as a player, because he had this badminton mind. He's just he has been on the circuit for like 15 years or something like that. It's crazy. So by any, he know the game exactly, and he's really a special person when you talk about badminton.
And that'll be so exciting to have him still be a part of your career, because you've got lots of time left, lots of potential in looking beyond London and even towards the Rio Olympics. So then it's interesting then that you, Jan, you're the only Dane to have beaten Peter Gade in international competition since Poul Erik Høyer back in 1996. What do you think set you apart? Why were you able? I was there in the stands in Indonesia, and I remember watching, my eyes were just popping out of my head back in 2008, because I saw that look. I knew you were going to win, and it was just like watching history in the making, because you didn't have the fear that, or maybe you were just going for that, even though, you have huge respect for Gade, but there was something different in your eyes than other Danes I've seen playing him before. And what was that like to beat this legend and this idol for you?
It was a huge dream come true, and when I think about it, I'm still getting a big smile on my face, because at that point I was not even close to his level. Yeah, succeeding in that was just amazing, and it was almost too much for me, and I wasn't able to play the next day as well. I lost to Targo, and he was at my age. He's at my age, and it was so big. Huge thing for me.
It can be, like you mentioned, it can be a real challenge to bounce back from those big victories and get yourself ready for the next rounds. It can almost be a letdown, I've found, when you overcome these huge opponents that happen that you didn't even believe you could beat, and then you come up against someone who maybe you've beaten before, or you should beat, and then all of a sudden you struggle. And how is that? What advice would you give for people who it seems easier to go out against players that are above your level and just do your best? How do you deal with playing players at your level or even below your level, keeping that same motivation?
The games against these players is just as important as games against better players or players who have the upper hand against you. So it's just about having the same mind set up before you go into the game, because if you have that, you get the same kind of level of don't know what, you get the same kind of level of
energy or motivation.
Yeah, exactly. And that's pretty important, that you have the same mindset up. Of course, if you play a final, you'll probably have some more nerves, but it's still the same.
So you mentioned nerves, because that's a real challenge for especially young players coming up. How to deal with nerves? I mean, I know there's a whole range of how nervous people get, but what do you do to calm your nerves before a big match, and what advice would you give to listeners and your fans who struggle with that, who feel so nervous? You know, I get told often by students and players that they get so nervous they feel sick, or they feel like, you know, they don't even feel like they can move on the court. Do you get nervous, and what do you do to overcome that?
Of course I get nervous, and if you don't get nervous, you don't have the sparkle or the right energy or something like that. But of course I do, but still it's about remembering why you play, because if it's not funny, and if you don't enjoy it, you can't really perform well. And it's about remembering why you're playing, and then I always get to relax a bit when I think about why I'm going into these big matches, because it's simply because I love the game, and I love to compete, and I love to play badminton. So it's pretty simple to me.
Yeah, and that's, you know, I think as professional players, we get to focus a lot, and have to focus a lot on the mental side of the game, and finding that love for what you're doing, I think, is the most liberating. And kids often do it very naturally in practice, but it's tough to adjust to that tournament setting. But I think you said it perfectly, to remind yourself about how much you really enjoy what you're doing, and what a privilege it is to be getting to do that in your life. And, you know, I know people around the world envy your life, and getting to play badminton as a professional and travel the world. It's really something special that players maybe sometimes take for granted. And I think it's very empowering, and can help your game if you realize how unique, and, you know, even if we're not making the millions that other athletes are making, but badminton players are doing what they love, and I think that's the most important thing in life. So now, talking about coaches a little bit here, you've had the opportunity to work with legends like Morten Frost. You and I played under him for a team in Aarhus, and you mentioned Kenneth Jørgensen, who's a former top player in the world, who's now coaching the English team, but he coached the Danish national team there briefly. What have these coaches, how have they impacted your career? And if you had to pick a coach that's had the most influence on you, who would that be?
It's tough to pick, just to pick one, but I'll say two guys, if you let me. I'll say the former national Danish coach, Kenneth Larsen, which is now, he had been coach in my old club, Triton Aalborg, as well. And he showed me how to play senior badminton, and he he made me play more mature, and he helped me go from that tough point where you play as a junior and you need to adapt to playing at the senior level, and he learned me that in a year or something like that, and that's really a difficult thing, and he gave me some tactical skills which is getting me far today. So he's really an important figure, and of course Kenneth Jørgensen is also very important, because I made my big breakthrough when I had him, and I'm very thankful for the way he gave me the chance, and the way he made me his project.
So you felt he took you under his wing a little bit, and gave you those tools you needed to take your game to the next level.
Yeah.
do you see yourself getting into coaching maybe down the road, or?
Oh, that's too early to say. So many years left. I really don't know. I don't know. It'll be weird not to have badminton in my life at some point, but yeah, let's see what happens. Still so many good years to play, so you can ask me that question in 5 years. And
yeah,
let's see what
we'll get back to you, and we'll do another interview leading up to, or just after maybe the Rio Olympics.
Yeah.
So I have to ask you, Jan, for your many fans out there. You're not married, I know that, but are you single, or are you?
Yeah. I'm single at the moment. Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on, relationships? I know often for athletes, people think that, they're encouraged or discouraged to be in relationships. Is it hard to have, kind of a regular life in that way while you're traveling so much? And do you feel that you miss out on certain things because of the sacrifices you make as an athlete?
Of course, it's you make a lot of sacrifices, but still, it's about finding a person which understands your situation and can support you all the way through. It's really important to have persons around you which understand the situation, friends and family and the girlfriend as well, which understands you. And if you don't have these persons, it's really tough to move around with all the hard things alone. And so you need to have persons who understands you around you.
You might need to lock down your email security now. You're going to get flooded with date offers from around the world. But thank you so much for chatting with us, Jan, and I wish you all the best. I know you deserve it, and watching how you train and seeing you develop has been really inspiring to me and players I work with. So I wish you all the best, and thank you for taking the time to chat with us today.
Thanks, no problem at all.